The Helios drifted through the outer rim of the Carina sector, its worn hull plates and outdated navigation beacons painting the perfect picture of a struggling independent merchant vessel. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the bridge's observation window, her reflection barely visible against the backdrop of distant stars. Her worn leather jacket and casual stance completed the image of a civilian captain, masking 15 years of special operations experience. Contact bearing 340, Captain. Lieutenant Rodriguez reported from his sensor station, his voice carrying the practiced uncertainty of someone pretending not to be a military officer. Looks like, well, something big. Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Drachnid vessel had been shadowing them for the past 6 hours, staying just outside civilian sensor range. The aliens thought they were being clever, using their advanced stealth systems to stalk what appeared to be easy prey. Maintain course and speed, Chen ordered, purposefully letting a tremor of nervousness enter her voice for the benefit of any listening devices. Keep power to the engines at civilian standard. We don't want to attract any unnecessary attention. The bridge crew performed their roles perfectly, each one playing their part in the elaborate deception. The Helios wasn't just any research vessel. It was humanity's latest test platform for understanding alien psychology and military doctrine. Its seemingly decrepit exterior concealed cutting-edge weapons and defensive systems, all carefully hidden behind false hull plates and masked energy signatures. "They're making their move," Rodriguez announced, his hands shaking convincingly over his console. Multiple smaller craft launching from the main vessel. The Drachnid pirates were following their standard playbook. They'd identified what they thought was a vulnerable merchant ship, tracked it to a quiet sector, and were now launching boarding pods. What they didn't know was that every detail of their approach had been carefully documented and analyzed by the Helios's true sensor suite. "Engineering, status report," Chen called out, maintaining the charade of a civilian captain trying to sound brave. "Main drives at 40%, Captain." Chief Engineer Paula Wong responded, her voice carrying just the right amount of panic. We might be able to give you 60, but the containment field is already stressed." In reality, the Helios's quantum drives were idling at 5%, with 95% power held in reserve behind carefully designed energy baffles. Every system on the ship had been built with deception in mind, capable of presenting false readings to even the most sophisticated scan. The Drachnid boarding pods grew larger on the main display, their predatory shapes reflecting their builders' confidence. Chen watched as they arranged themselves in a standard attack pattern, one that suggested they expected minimal resistance. "Captain," Rodriguez called out, real tension mixing with his acted fear. "They're charging weapons." The first shots from the Drachnid vessel were designed to disable rather than destroy. After all, pirates couldn't profit from vaporized cargo. Brilliant energy beams lanced out across space, seemingly aimed at the Helios's engines and communication array. Chen waited until the last possible moment before giving the order. "Initiate Protocol Omega." The transformation was immediate and devastating. Hidden weapon ports snapped open along the Helios's hull, revealing rows of point defense turrets and heavy beam emitters. The ship's false exterior fell away in sections, exposing armor plating that would make a battlecruiser proud. Power surged through systems that had laid dormant, bringing the vessel's true capabilities online in seconds. The Drachnid boarding pods had no chance to react. Precision fire from the Helios defense grid cut through their formation, destroying half of them before their pilots could even register the change. The remaining pods scattered in panic, their coordinated attack dissolving into chaos. Multiple direct hits, Weapons Officer Kai Jackson reported crisply, military precision replacing his earlier affected nervousness. "Enemy boarding craft are breaking formation. Their mothership is powering up weapons, but they're still configured for commercial vessel engagement." Chen straightened, shrugging off the casual posture of a merchant captain. "Show them what a real warship can do, Mr. Jackson. Target their primary weapon banks and engines. Minimal collateral damage. We want them intact for study. The Helios's main weapons charged with a high-pitched whine that reverberated through the hull. The Drachnid vessel, still processing the transformation of its supposed prey, barely managed to raise its shields before the first volley struck. Human-designed phase beams, specifically calibrated to penetrate Drachnid defensive systems, carved through their protection like paper. Direct hits on all designated targets, Jackson confirmed. Their weapons are offline, and their engine output is dropping rapidly. Chen nodded, satisfaction mixing with professional focus. Open a channel. Let's see how they handle the realization that they've been outplayed. The Drachnid commander's image flickered onto the main screen, revealing a reptilian face marked with ceremonial scars that designated high rank among their pirate clans. His inner eyelids blinked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation in his species. "This is impossible," the commander hissed, mandibles clicking in frustration. "Your vessel was identified as the merchant ship Aurora Spirit. Our scans confirm civilian power signatures and minimal defensive capabilities." Captain Chen allowed herself a cold smile. "I'm afraid your scans showed you exactly what we wanted them to show. This is the UES Helios, and you've just participated in an unscheduled military response evaluation." The alien commander's scales darkened with rage or embarrassment, possibly both. "The Drachnid Confederation will hear of this deception. You have violated multiple trade route protocols and endangered civilian vessels." "Interesting perspective," Chen replied, keeping her tone professionally neutral. "Though I suspect the Confederation might be more concerned about one of their decorated former fleet officers running a piracy operation in neutral space. Yes, Commander Zexkar, we know exactly who you are." The revelation hit home. The commander's posture stiffened, his ceremonial scars standing out against suddenly pale scales. Behind him, his bridge crew exchanged worried glances. "Lieutenant Rodriguez," Chen called out, never taking her eyes off the alien commander, "please transmit our compiled evidence package to the Drachnid Confederation's Military Justice Division. Include the sensor logs of the past 6 attacks attributed to the commander's group." Rodriguez's fingers danced across his console. "Transmission complete, Captain. Confederation servers have acknowledged receipt." The Drachnid commander's composure cracked further. You've been tracking us. For how long?" "Long enough," Chen answered. "The Helios has been following your operation for 3 months. Each attack helped us refine our masking systems, testing them against your sensors. Your tactics have been analyzed, documented, and will be used to improve security across human space." Chief Engineer Wang's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, I'm detecting power fluctuations in their weapon systems. They're attempting to bring secondary arrays online." Chen's expression hardened. "I wouldn't advise that, Commander. Your primary weapons are disabled, but the Helios is fully capable of reducing your ship to scrap if necessary. Stand down your remaining systems and prepare to be boarded." "You have no authority to board a Drachnid vessel," the commander snarled, though his hands moved away from his control panel. "This is an act of war." "Actually," Chen pulled up a document on her datapad, "under the Frontier Space Accords of 2157, specifically Section 7 regarding piracy interdiction, we have full authority to board and inspect any vessel engaged in documented acts of piracy. Your own government signed these accords." The commander's shoulders slumped slightly, the fight draining from his posture. His next words came out as a quiet hiss. "You planned this entire encounter." "Not just this encounter," Chen corrected. "We've been gathering data on multiple pirate groups operating in this sector. Your organization simply happened to be the most predictable in its targeting patterns." Jackson spoke up from his weapons station. "Boarding teams are ready, Captain. Security detachments standing by in all launch bays." Chen nodded. "Commander, you have 2 options. Surrender your vessel for inspection and face charges through proper legal channels, or," she let the alternative hang unspoken in the air. The Drachnid commander's inner eyelids flickered rapidly as he assessed his situation. His ship was crippled, his weapons disabled, and evidence of his crimes was already in the hands of his government. When he spoke again, his voice carried the weight of defeat. "We surrender. But know this, human, you have made an enemy today. There are those among my people who will not forget this humiliation." Chen's expression remained neutral. "Noted, Commander. Though you might want to consider that if a single human research vessel could accomplish this, you may be underestimating humanity as a whole. Prepare your crew for boarding. Helios Actual, out." As the transmission ended, Chen turned to her crew. "Launch boarding teams. I want full control of their vessel within 30 minutes. Dr. Harrison, begin your cultural analysis. I want to know everything about how they react to this situation." The ship's chief xenopsychologist nodded from his observation station. "Already recording, Captain. Their response patterns align with our previous studies of Drachnid honor dynamics. This encounter will provide valuable insight into their military psychology." "Captain," Rodriguez called out, "we're receiving transmission requests from 3 different Drachnid military vessels. They're asking for confirmation of our evidence package." Chen smiled. The operation had exceeded expectations. Not only had they proven the effectiveness of their deception systems, but they'd also managed to expose a significant security leak within the Drachnid military structure. "Acknowledge their requests," she ordered. "Transmit our credentials and prepare a full situation report. It seems the diplomatic phase of our mission is about to begin." Warning klaxons blared through the Helios corridors as Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice cut through the commotion. "Captain, 3 vessels just dropped out of FTL. Signatures match Drachnid combat cruisers, but they're not broadcasting military IDs." Captain Chen's eyes narrowed as she studied the tactical display. The new arrivals had emerged in a perfect ambush formation, clearly military trained, but operating outside official channels. "It seems our friend the commander has some unofficial backup. Time to intercept." 4 minutes at their current velocity, Jackson reported from weapons. "They're charging weapon systems. Wait, detecting launch signatures. Multiple attack craft deploying." Chen's mind raced through the possibilities. The Drachnid Confederation wouldn't have responded this quickly to their evidence package, which meant these ships belonged to someone else, someone with a vested interest in keeping Commander Zexkar's operation secret. "Status of our boarding teams," she demanded. "Still securing the pirate vessel." Security Chief Reese responded over the comm. "We'd found some interesting data in their systems, Captain. This goes deeper than simple piracy. There's evidence off." The transmission cut off as a burst of energy washed over both ships. "Sensor jamming," Rodriguez announced. "Military grade. They're trying to block our communications with the boarding teams." Chen's decision was instant. "Recall all personnel. Get our people back on board now. Mr. Jackson, deploy countermeasures and prepare for emergency maneuvers." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency, their earlier pretense of civilian inexperience completely forgotten. Within moments, the Helios' full combat systems were online, its true power no longer hidden behind false signatures and masked energy readings. "Incoming transmission," Rodriguez reported. "Audio only." "This is Marshal Captain Vextra of the Special Security Division," a gravelly voice announced. "You have interfered with a sanctioned operation and accessed classified military data. Surrender your vessel immediately or face destruction." Chen signaled for the channel to be muted. "Dr. Harrison, analysis." The xenopsychologist consulted his readings. "The title is legitimate but obsolete. The Special Security Division was officially disbanded after the last border war. This confirms our suspicions about corruption within the Drachnid military structure." "Captain," Wong called from engineering, "I've analyzed their weapon signatures. These aren't standard Drachnid military loadouts. They're running hot, probably black market modifications. Their ships are faster but less stable than regulation specs." A plan began forming in Chen's mind. "How are our boarders doing?" "Last team is securing airlock now," Reese reported. "We've copied all their data and planted the package as ordered." Chen allowed herself a grim smile. Perfect. Mr. Jackson, target their center vessel's port weapon array. Warning shot only. I want them to see exactly what we can do. The Helios's main gun spoke, sending a precisely calculated beam of energy that passed mere meters from the lead Drachnid ship's hull. The message was clear. If they could hit that close deliberately, they wouldn't miss a real shot. Channel open. Chen commanded. Marshal Captain, this is Captain Chen of the UES Helios. We've completed our inspection of the pirate vessel and are preparing to transmit our findings to both human and Drachnid authorities. Any interference will be considered an act of war. You're bluffing, Vextra snarled. 1 ship against 3. You humans always did overestimate your capabilities. Check your sensors, Chen replied calmly. The Helios isn't what she appears to be, and I suggest you consider very carefully what it means that we were able to disable Commander Zexkar's ship without taking a single hit. A tense moment passed before the Marshal Captain spoke again, his tone less certain. You're one of them. The ghost ships our border patrols reported, the ones that appear as something else until it's too late. I neither confirm nor deny those reports, Chen answered. But I will confirm that the next shot won't miss. Stand down your weapons and withdraw, or discover exactly how much more we're hiding. The tactical display showed the Drachnid vessels adjusting their positions, their formation tightening. They weren't retreating. They were preparing to attack. All hands, battle stations, Chen ordered. Mr. Jackson, target their engines. Dr. Harrison, record everything. Lieutenant Rodriguez, plot us a course through the Carillion asteroid field. If they want to see what this ship can really do, let's give them a demonstration they'll never forget. The Helios's engines roared to life, its previously masked power now unleashed as it accelerated toward the dense field of space debris. Behind them, the Drachnid vessels moved to pursue, their modified engines pushing them to dangerous speeds. They're following, Rodriguez confirmed, entering asteroid field in 30 seconds. Chen settled into her command chair, her expression one of focused determination. Time to show them why humans are the best pilots in known space. Mr. Jackson, prepare rear batteries. Let's see how well they can fight while dodging rocks. The Carillion asteroid field stretched before them like a deadly maze, chunks of rock ranging from pebbles to small moons tumbling through the void. Most ships avoided this region entirely, which was exactly why Chen had chosen it. First pursuing vessel entering the field, Rodriguez reported, his hands flying over the sensor controls. They're maintaining formation but reducing speed. Second and third vessels spreading out to flank us. Chen nodded, watching the tactical display with intense focus. Chief Wang, how are those engine modifications holding up? The new gravitational deflectors are performing beyond specs, Wang replied from engineering. We can safely pass within 50 meters of large objects at current velocity. They'll need at least 200 meters clearance with their modified drives. Transfer power to the rear shields, Chen ordered. They'll have to choose between shooting at us and avoiding asteroids. Either way, we win. The Helios dove deeper into the field, its advanced navigation systems plotting paths that seemed impossible to follow. Behind them, the Drachnid vessels struggled to maintain pursuit, their larger ships less maneuverable among the chaos of spinning rocks. Captain, Dr. Harrison called out, I've finished analyzing the data we pulled from Zexkar's ship. This goes far beyond corruption. They're running weapons testing. Chen's expression darkened. Testing what exactly? Prototype phase cannons, Harrison explained, sending the data to her console. They've been using civilian ships as live targets, studying how different shield configurations react to their new weapon designs. The piracy operation was just a cover. A massive asteroid loomed ahead, easily the size of a small moon. The tactical display showed the Drachnid vessels spreading out, clearly expecting the Helios to go around the obstacle. Mr. Jackson, Chen smiled, remember that trick we discussed? The one engineering said was theoretically possible. Jackson grinned. The gravitational slingshot, Captain. Wang said it had a 40% chance of working. And a 60% chance of tearing us apart, Wang added over the comm. But I've made some adjustments since those calculations. Maybe 50-50 now. Chen's smile widened. Better odds than we usually get. Prepare for my mark. The Helios streaked toward the massive asteroid, its pursuit seemingly forgotten as it aimed directly for the rocky surface. Behind them, the Drachnid vessels hesitated, their formation breaking as they tried to anticipate their quarry's next move. They're charging weapons, Rodriguez reported. Targeting solutions incoming. Wait for it, Chen ordered, her eyes fixed on the rapidly approaching rock. Wait. Now. The Helios's modified engines fired in a complex sequence, using the asteroid's gravitational field to accelerate while simultaneously changing direction. The ship whipped around the massive rock at impossible speeds, emerging on the other side just as the Drachnid vessels committed to their attack runs. Target their predicted exit vectors, Chen commanded. Full spread, maximum yield. The Helios's weapons discharged just as the first Drachnid ship emerged from around the asteroid. Caught between the human vessel's fire and the gravitational forces they'd been fighting, the pursuing shift shields collapsed. Emergency thrusters fired wildly as they tried to avoid both the weapon's fire and the tumbling space rocks. Direct hits on first vessel, Jackson announced with professional satisfaction. Their primary power grid is offline. They're running on auxiliaries. The second Drachnid ship managed to pull away in time, but the third wasn't so fortunate. It clipped a smaller asteroid while evading, sending it into an uncontrolled spin. Marshal Captain's vessel is launching escape pods, Rodriguez reported, reading multiple hull breaches. Their reactor is becoming unstable. Move us into position for rescue operations, Chen ordered. Send the surrender terms to the remaining functional vessel. Let's see if they're ready to talk now. As the Helios maneuvered to collect survivors, Dr. Harrison approached Chen's chair. Captain, there's something else in the data we recovered. References to something called Project Eclipse. The encryption is unlike anything I've seen. Send it to tactical analysis back at command, Chen replied. I have a feeling this mission just got a lot more complicated than simple pirate hunting. The bridge crew worked efficiently, coordinating rescue operations while maintaining defensive positions against the remaining Drachnid vessel. They'd won this engagement, but Chen knew they'd only scratched the surface of whatever conspiracy they'd stumbled into. Captain, Rodriguez called out suddenly, I'm detecting new energy signatures at the edge of the field. Multiple vessels dropping out of FTL. They're broadcasting Drachnid Confederation naval IDs, official ones this time. Chen straightened in her chair. Looks like the evidence package we sent got someone's attention. Open a channel to the Confederation vessels. I think it's time we had a proper conversation about what's really happening in this sector. The tactical display showed 5 Drachnid military cruisers approaching, their weapon systems powered down but ready. Whatever happened next would shape human-Drachnid relations for years to come, and Chen intended to ensure humanity's position was one of strength through intelligence rather than brute force. Admiral Kexthal of the Drachnid Confederation Navy stood rigid on the Helios's bridge, his ceremonial armor unable to hide his discomfort as he reviewed the evidence displayed before him. Captain Chen watched as the Admiral's inner eyelids flickered rapidly while reading through the files recovered from Commander Zexkar's ship. This is most disturbing, the Admiral finally said, each word carefully measured. You understand that by revealing this information, you've triggered a political crisis within our military structure. That wasn't our primary mission, Chen replied diplomatically, but we couldn't ignore what we found. Project Eclipse represents a clear violation of multiple treaties. The Admiral's scales shifted color slightly, a sign of deep concern in his species. How long has Earth intelligence known about this operation? We didn't, initially, Chen admitted. The Helios was tasked with testing our new deception systems against real-world threats. The piracy operation was an obvious target. Everything else we discovered was Supplementary. Dr. Harrison stepped forward, displaying additional data on the main screen. The weapons they were testing weren't just advanced. They were designed specifically to penetrate human shield configurations. The pirate attacks were gathering tactical data about our defensive capabilities. Rogue elements, the Admiral insisted, though his posture suggested he didn't entirely believe it. Corrupt officers acting without authorization. Perhaps, Chen agreed carefully. But these rogue elements had access to military-grade technology, classified shipping data, and enough influence to operate undetected for months. That suggests support from somewhere high in your command structure. The bridge fell silent as the implications hung in the air. In the viewport behind them, the wreckage of the Marshal Captain's vessel drifted among the asteroids, a testament to how quickly power could shift in the void of space. "Your ship," the Admiral said suddenly, changing topics. "It's remarkable. Our best sensor analysts are still trying to understand how you masked such powerful systems behind civilian signatures." Chen smiled. "That information remains classified, Admiral. Though I suspect you'll be seeing more vessels like the Helios in the future. Humanity has learned that sometimes appearing weak is our greatest strength. A lesson my people would do well to remember," the Admiral acknowledged. "Your operation has exposed a cancer within our military, one that could have led us to catastrophic conflict had it gone unchecked. Then perhaps we can turn this incident into an opportunity," Chen suggested. "The Helios's mission proved that deception cuts both ways. We caught your conspirators because they underestimated an apparently harmless merchant vessel, but we also demonstrated that humanity is capable of far more than some in your military believe." The Admiral's scales shifted again, this time to a shade that indicated thoughtful consideration. "You propose cooperation. Joint security patrols," Chen specified. "Official ones this time. Share intelligence about genuine threats. Stop treating each other as potential enemies and focus on actual hostile forces in the sector." "Many in our military council will oppose this," the Admiral warned. "They prefer the old ways, strength through dominance." "Then show them the sensor logs of today's engagement," Chen countered. "One human vessel disabled 3 of your enhanced cruisers without taking significant damage. We did it through strategy and technology, not brute force. Imagine what we could accomplish as allies instead of adversaries." Before the Admiral could respond, Rodriguez spoke up from his station. "Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. They've decrypted more of the Project Eclipse files. You'll want to see this immediately." Chen glanced at the Admiral, who nodded his permission. The decoded files appeared on the main screen, revealing the web of conspiracy far larger than anyone had suspected. Project Eclipse wasn't just about weapons testing. It was part of a coordinated effort by multiple species to assess and counter human expansion. "Well," the Admiral said after a long moment, "it seems your ship has stumbled onto something far more significant than piracy." His scales had shifted to a color Chen had never seen before. "Captain, I believe I will need to contact my government. This situation requires immediate attention." "Of course, Admiral," Chen agreed. "In the meantime, I've been authorized to share certain technical specifications with your science teams. Nothing classified, but enough to demonstrate humanity's willingness to work together openly." The Admiral's posture relaxed slightly. "A gesture of trust, or a warning?" "Both," Chen answered honestly. "The Helios proves that humanity can match or exceed your military capabilities when necessary. We'd rather use that technology to build bridges than win wars." As the Admiral departed to contact his superiors, Chen turned to her crew. The mission had evolved far beyond its original parameters, but they had accomplished something far more valuable than testing new technology. They had shown that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its weapons or shields, but in its ability to turn adversity into opportunity. "Send word to command," she ordered. "Tell them the Helios is ready for Phase 2. If there are more conspirators out there watching for weak merchant vessels, I think it's time we gave them something new to worry about." The stars stretched endlessly before them, each one holding new challenges and opportunities. But now, thanks to the Helios and her crew, those stars would shine on a galaxy where humanity had proven itself not just as a military power, but as a force for positive change. Sometimes, Chen reflected, the best victories were won not through the weapons you showed, but through the wisdom to know when to reveal them.